Hey guys, what is good? Good morning. It's Saturday, it's the weekend. Cheers. Hope you're enjoying your coffee, your tea, whatever you do for your morning ritual. Alright, so today, 52 books in 52 weeks. Why not? Nah, it's not one of those videos. Honestly, I don't think I could probably finish all these books that I got sitting in front of me in 52 weeks. After I've gotten back into my love of reading, thanks to Monkmode, by the way, repping the shirt, check out my video for that. Going into Monkmode, I rekindled my love for reading again, and it's just been nothing but good things. But I found out that I'm a little bit of a slow reader. So what I like to do, at least with the majority of the books that I've been able to buy, is I like to buy them on Audible and listen along with them while I'm reading them. And I set the pace according to what my preference is. Like, I'll listen to it on 110 if I'm really trying to absorb the material. One book I had to listen to it at like 120 or almost 250 because it was so specific and so drawn out and so long, and I wanted to finish it in a couple months. But I did soak up a lot of information from it. Honestly, I'd have to go through it and read it again. It's 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Phenomenal book. I recommend that you guys either get it on Audible or buy the book, or both. You won't regret spending your money on that book. Anyway, so books that I'm currently reading right now and that I'm going to read this year and probably going into next year. We'll get started. So I am at the tail end, the last chapter of Ender's Game, and it has been nothing but a fun ride. I'm a sucker for science fiction. This book really embodies the hero's journey, about the story of this boy Ender and how he goes on a journey to become more than what he's capable of. And he was, at some point in the story, I'm kind of just giving you guys the layout of the hero's journey. He was ignoring the call, and he didn't want to leave his life of comfort and privilege, and then he gets almost slingshotted into this world of violence and war, but he realizes that he has these skills and strategies where he's more than capable of basically saving the world. So that's kind of a synopsis, but this book, definitely a good read, especially if you get the author's definitive edition. This was written back in, I'm pretty sure it says it, back in 1985, I think. Yeah, copyright was 1985, 1991. So this, highly recommend it, especially if you guys are into plot lines, stories of the hero's journey. Definitely recommend this book. Going to finish it sooner than later. I'm also in the middle of reading Wise Man's Fear. If you haven't read the first book, The Name of the Wind, this is the conclusion, picking up right where it left off, of the story of Kvolf. And it's a good book. I don't want to spoil it for you guys. I'm just getting back into it. I'm kind of reading this one part-time right now because I'm obviously trying to finish Ender's Game. So I'll be putting some more time into this book though as well, especially if you like high fantasy. I'm just getting back into high fantasy again, so I'm also a fan of that as well. And this story really embodies the plot of and story setup of the hero's journey. So there's that. I'm about halfway through this one, The Education of Millionaires. I believe I'm on chapter 5. I'm also listening to this while reading it at the same time just to get through it. So definitely a recommendation. I would totally recommend this book just because there's a lot of, not pointers, but skills. There's a lot of ways to make money from this book, and it's giving me all the answers that I need, basically, and what I need to do. So, highly recommend this book. Either listen to it or buy it to read it. The Education of Millionaires by Michael Ellsberg. Great read, great listen. Halfway done with it. So, books that I will read in the future. Deep Work by Cal Newport. I listened to this one time. I still got the book, but I really wanted to give it a shot reading it and just kind of seeing what his words were versus listening to it. This really teaches you about how to get focused on whatever your purpose is, whatever your drive is in work, or whatever you're working towards, whatever your goals are. So there's that. Deep Work, Cal Newport. This takes a different aspect in life. I think everybody should be well-rounded too. You know, relationships. The Alabaster Girl by Zan Purion. Took him 10 years to write this book and finish it. And one of the best things I've read out of this book, or I've heard out of this book, was a lover of women will be loved by women. Every great life has had a great renunciation. I did a video on this a couple years ago. So, as you can see, I got 2 copies. I bought an original for cheap price, off at eBay or Amazon, one of the two. And then I got one signed by him. So, there's that. Figured that'd be kind of cool to own. I really like his style on relationships, his figure of a masculine role as a man in relationships. So I think that he's got a good influence. It kind of reminded me of 3% Man by Corey Wayne, which I recommend as well. This is a little bit more in depth, and I believe it is kind of more poetic, if anything. But there's some good stuff in here. There's some golden nuggets, I would say. If you're in a relationship or developing relationships with women, guys, information to the guys, get books like that or 3% Man. Alright, health books. The Fat of the Land by Vladimir Stephenson. I talked about this in one of my carnivore videos. Haven't read it yet, going to be reading about it. These books, another one by him, by Stephenson, not by Brett alone. These are studies on Inuit tribes living in the Arctic Circle. Him and a colleague of his lived out there for about maybe 3 or 5 years, I want to say, and they ate nothing but fish and drank water for about 3 years living out in this Arctic plain. And these are just some research books. They talk about the studies that they did on the tribes out there and themselves as well, being on this diet of just meat, basically the carnivore diet. So I'm going to be getting into this just to do a little bit more research on the carnivore diet and to kind of back up what I did for my video series on that. So I'm basically on a modified diet now. I'm adding things in and taking things away now, just adjusting to what my body is used to and what my body can assimilate and likes. But I'm looking into getting back onto another healthy, well-rounded diet again. So the carnivore diet, from what I'm learning from my experience and from what I've been learning about others on YouTube and online, is that it's a good way to reset your body, to go through a detox, hit high ketosis, and get back on track again. To just figure out what foods you could possibly be allergic to. Because what I'm learning now is that everybody's got a different set of genes and genetic potential in becoming healthy. And so you really got to figure out what foods work for you, what works for you, and what doesn't work for you. Is kind of what it's coming down to nowadays from what I'm finding out. There's no just one way, no fad diet, unfortunately. So there's that. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. The deluxe edition. Listened to it once, wanted to buy a copy just so I could really absorb the information of the philosophy of thinking and growing rich. Highly recommend this book for any of you guys that are out there trying to make wealth happen and make wealth manifest in your life to become rich, whether it's in your career that you currently have or if you're an entrepreneur and you want to develop a business to be wealthy. This is a must read for you trying to figure out what finances are all about, the dealings of ins and outs of money, and developing the proper mindset in making wealth. So I would definitely recommend this book. Okay, Shogun. This is a fictional novel about Japan. One man's journey to and through, I think, 19th century Japan, when it was just starting out. This, I heard it on one summary of it from a podcast and a blog that I read, was that it was a combination of the 48 Laws of Power and the Mastery by Robert Greene, and it's all kind of tied into one in this book through fiction. So I thought, well, hey, instead of just buying two books, why not buy one by James Cavell and see what the summary of it is combined with this one book in a nice fictional story. It probably embodies the hero's journey as well, I would say. So between power, determination, self-reliance, I heard that this book was talking a lot about that for this one man's journey. So never heard really anything of it except from one specific guy that I follow and his blog and his podcast, and he said that it was a recommended read if you want to hear a good story and a good story of a journey. So I thought, all right, I'll get it. We'll talk about this one. There is a River by Thomas Sugru. It's the story of Edgar Cayce. So this is I think it's like a autobiography about Edgar Cayce, the life and story of Edgar Cayce, who was known as the Sleeping Prophet. And a lot of the things that he predicted in the past came true in the future. Apparently this book is very mind-blowing, so I thought I would get it. Sorry, not autobiography, it actually says biography on the back. My bad. So I got this book because I'm into that kind of stuff. He predicted a lot of stuff for like health and wellness too that came true later on as the years went by. So phenomenal man, phenomenal story about his life, and Thomas Sugru wrote it. So I thought I would get this book and read this later on. Also have it on Audible, so I'm going to be listening and reading along with it just to get the maximum absorption of the story of Edgar Cayce. Another book about men: King, Warrior, Magician, and Lover. The Four Archetypes by Moore and Gillette. Rediscovering the Archetypes of the Mature Masculine by Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette. So this is going to be a fun read. Didn't get a desk jacket with it, but if you are looking for the embodiment of the archetypes of the masculine male, recommendation to the guys out there that watch this channel: get this book. It is a very good read. People that I follow have read it already too, and they said that it was just a phenomenal book, helping them to absorb and be well-rounded as a man. So that's just kind of a summary of it. Haven't heard too much about it, just except from people that I follow. Elliot Hulse talks highly of this book as well, so I would definitely recommend that. Iron John, a book about men. This is a good story about men and the masculine. So it's a story. I watched a YouTube summary video on it about the story itself. It's just kind of summed up. Robert Bly, the man, picture of him on the back. He's a poet, a writer, a longtime writer. This book was written back in the 90s as well. So I think he kind of resonates with what Moore and Gillette were trying to do with the King, Warrior, Magician, and Lover, really bringing out the archetypes of the male and masculine figures. And so he ended up writing a book called Iron John, a book about men. So there's that one. Last but not least, I'm obsessed with the hero's journey and the concept and plotline and storylines of different books, fictional stories, characters, and whatnot. So I figured I would go to the man himself who came up with the story, the mythology, the archetypes, the embodiment of the hero's journey, and I thought I would just go ahead and buy Joseph Campbell's The Hero with 1,000 Faces. He was the guy that created that. A lot of people have written great stories or fictional stories about the hero's journey have used this as a foundation to create their story or trilogies from back in the day. So, got this book. It just gives you the outline of the hero's journey. I don't really know how else to describe it, but it's going to be a good book. It's going to be a good read. I'll really get to understand the philosophy, the setup, the archetypes of the hero's journey. So there's that by Joseph Campbell. And that's it, guys. These are going to be some of the books I'm reading. Go into Monkmode with me. Read along with me. Highly recommend these books. Go ahead and get them. You can buy them on eBay or Amazon if you'd like. Wherever books are sold. So I'm going to get on with my day. It's a nice day for a Saturday. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.